I know. Why?
Oh, he's right there.
Take a seat.
I thought you meant a different Curtis.
She thought you were a dropout. You're a school dropout and all.
I know.
Oh, hi.
We're at 101. Please be seated, guys. I know. I got to start. We can talk about it.
I wanted to make it.
All right, everyone, welcome. Welcome to Toastmasters. Thanks for being here today. Can we start with the applause? Because we so happy to see you guys here. It does look a little bit thinner than base camp with Justin Udy for some reason, but hopefully we'll get to see some more numbers. I'm glad you guys are here on this beautiful day. I'd first like to recognize any new guests, anyone visiting for the first time. Rick's been gone a while. I recognize you vaguely. Rick, is that what you were going to say?
No. Just southeastern Utah, the desert.
No, I'm just saying I'm a new member almost.
What do you mean almost?
No, because my
Hasn't happened.
application hasn't turned in yet.
Okay, we'll make it happen. I know we're working for you, and I believe a couple other people to make sure that happens.
So I feel new.
Okay, sounds good. If you feel new, we'll include that as well. Anyone else that has never introduced themselves that's been here? I see a lot of familiar faces. Great. So, a couple reminders. During the meeting, please wait to enter or leave. So hopefully you took a bathroom break before coming. Hopefully there are no emergencies, but when people are speaking, I just ask that you wait until they finish speaking before entering or leaving the room. In addition to that, let's really make a focus today to make sure that Ginger, I'm sorry, we do not have a podium, but the imaginary podium, there is always someone at every moment within this vicinity. So it's handing off the time to someone else or to another role, shaking their hands, introducing them if you need to do that. And then the third thing is, just so we can provide as much value as possible, I'd like to hear from as many people as possible. So with that being said, when you are explaining your role, make sure you are staying within the time allotted that's on the agenda. If you're ahead of schedule, that's even better. It just means that we can have more speakers, more table topic speakers that we can hear from, or a better chance that you can be embarrassed like me. So that's going to be great. And then lastly, I really just wanted to open this up very quickly before I introduce the Toastmaster. But so who has, I know that there have been issues with memberships at times which are finally being ironed out right now, but who has gone on to look at pathways, to take the assessment? That's great. And I may be explaining why you may not have done so. I get it that this time of year especially, things get very busy in the business. I feel very hectic at all times of the day. But it really comes down to, if we find value in something, we will take part in it, right? I'm sure there are things that you guys could be doing now at 1 o'clock in the middle of the day, just after lunch. Maybe you had an extra large lunch. Maybe you're ready for Oprah or taking a nap, or maybe you have appointments, whatever that might be. But I'm so happy you're here because it means that you're finding value in this meeting. I just want to relate to you guys that in Pathways, there is value there. And I know I've seen that myself, because when I take the assessment, I was able to find out things about myself that I was not aware of in the past. And I know moving into this next chapter of our club, of our chapter of Everest Toastmasters, that this is where we will develop not just in public speaking, but in how to do better evaluations, how to become a better leader, better mentor, how to find a leader or mentor to work with, how to approach that individual. There's really a wide array of things and channels that you can go into that's specific to you and your needs. And it'll also provide more opportunities to speak publicly about those items that you're working on specifically. Icebreakers is just the icebreaker. It's just the very tip of the iceberg of what's there and what's available to us. So I wanted to hear from all of you. If I were to, and I get it, a lot of times things can look complicated. If you go into the website, there are a couple different things you can click on. Maybe that's part of it. So if I can help simplify that and show you here directly where that benefit is and where the value is and kind of open your eyes to it, is that something you guys may be interested in? Excellent. I see one person nodding actually. It's not so great. Okay, that's great. In that case, we will be inviting those of you who have not started it. In fact, I'd recommend that everyone show up. Just bring your laptop and I'll go through it with you up here. It'll only take a few minutes. We can do an assessment together so you can see what that looks like. But I know I have found value in it and it's pretty neat. And in addition to that, I will say in Pathways, I'm already going over, but in Pathways, I'm gonna wrap up that the icebreaker is just the first step, and then going to step 2, 3, 4, and 5, you'll have other things that you can work on and share with the group. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's just important that we all take part in it. And I wanna make sure I make it as easy as possible to do so. All right, with any further ado, I'm gonna introduce our Toastmaster of the day, Miss Ginger Trask. Come on up. Ginger!
I am nobless and podiumless. That's okay. I really honestly though, was looking forward to being the very first Toastmaster to use our new podium. So, okay.
Eric is not here.
Okay. So welcome today. This is going to be a scintillating club meeting. Thank you. Let's start by introducing our grammarian, Rob Wright.
Good job of using word for the day, so you all heard it. I don't need to say much of it. Scintillating, it is an adjective, and it means something fascinating, very clever, used in a sentence. Rick Bentley gave a scintillating speech for the meeting. So I'm looking forward to hearing all of your scintillating speeches and really excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Okay, it does not say on the agenda who's giving the educational moment, so I'm going to give the educational moment. And it plays off of grammar. This is my pet peeve. Okay, verb, adverb. Okay. So many times I hear people say, drive safe. Don't drive safe, we drive safely. Safe is describing the verb drive. This is an adverb describing the verb. So thusly, it has an ly on the end. Whoa.
Right?
If, got it?
Barely.
If it's describing the verb at the end, it's an adverb, it has ly, drive safely. Okay,
I'm
And-
still okay to say have a safe drive?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Have a safe drive is correct. Drive safe is incorrect. Drive safely is correct.
The second drive is a noun.
Well,
Yeah.
this,
That one's
This
an
is-
adjective.
this is the adjective describing the verb. Verb
That's
is,
a noun.
drive is a verb.
You're having a safe drive. Drive is a thing, your journey.
Yeah, well, it can also be a verb, you're physically driving. You drive someone. Okay, think about it, let it percolate. Moving right along. So, our roles today during this scintillating club meeting are Clint Robertson as our awe counter. He's in the back there. Grammarian, we've introduced, Rob Wright. Our topic master, Danette Graham. Is there a substitute for Danette?
She'll be here. She's almost
She will be here, thank
She'll
you.
be here in time.
Our timer is Keith Hall. He's getting his introduction. General evaluator, Curtis Perry on the front row. Our first evaluator will actually be Terry Taylor, who will evaluate Barbara Virgin. Thank you, Barbara. And our second evaluator will be Russ Orchard, who will evaluate, is it Lee? Lee Lichter.
The speeches are 4 to 6 minutes, because once pathways start, it changes to 5 to 7 minutes, the speeches will get longer. But this time, because they're the first time speakers, 4 to 6 minutes, so
So
just
this
remember
is
that.
incorrect.
Yes.
Okay, I was about to say that we have different length talks today, but we don't. They're all the same, 4 to 6 minutes. So our two speakers will be the icebreaker speeches. With that, I'd like to bring up Barbara Virgin, please.
Still gonna say I was forced to do this. So first, I'm actually going to tell you guys a little story on how I came up with my topic for the day. My plan with real estate was to do it part-time, where I worked my full-time job. It didn't really work out that way. I ended up getting fired from my job at the end of November. I passed my real estate that Saturday and signed up here mid-December. So I kind of just decided to jump into real estate full-time. It was a total career change for me. Before I got fired, I thought I'd always be in that industry. Since I was a little girl, elementary, I always knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I did it. In January, one morning ascent, sorry, I'm nervous.
Okay.
George spoke, and it was before a summit, so I think he was on one. He asked us two questions that really felt like he was speaking to me at the moment. He asked us, one, what gives your life purpose? And two, why are you here? And I thought to myself, I have no freaking idea. What is my purpose now? Why am I here? And why am I sitting in this real estate office? I'm crying more because I'm nervous. And I thought, what am I doing here? Why am I in a real estate office? And what am I even on this earth to do? And I didn't know. Some of these questions are still TBD, to be decided, for those of you who don't know what that means. But I did figure out why I was sitting in that chair and why I came to this building. And why I am in real estate currently. And I want to share that story with you guys, how I came up with my answers. So hopefully you also can start to figure out why you're here in this industry and in this world and find your purpose in life, like I'm trying to. I started by writing down these questions, and because I didn't know, I kind of just started writing. I wrote about my childhood, my preteen years, and teen years, and I figured out how this era in my life has made me seek stability, but also seek change. I also wrote about my after-college career, and I'll share that story a little bit with you guys. After high school, I moved with my family to California, and I had no choice at the time. I was 18, so they forced me. I went to college there and graduated, and after college, I moved back to Utah and started my career here. It was really hard to leave my family for obvious reasons and for different reasons and for obvious reasons. I'd missed them, and I'd never been that far away from them. But I was super unhappy, and I needed some fun and calmness in my life. And again, I realized in that time, I was also in search for stability and change. I started my career, and it started out with mainly startup companies, which was super fun because I got to learn so much, and they let me do so much. But eventually, I would stop learning. You would get overworked, not listened to, and on top of that, not paid enough. And not to mention the people there who were miserable and didn't want to be there. So you'd have to deal with people that were unhappy and would bring you down as well. By my last job, I was pretty sick of it, of the 9 to 5. At one point, I think I became one of those miserable people at work. I did not want to be there. Probably why I got fired. I remember the HR lady calling me in, and she was like, sat me down very calmly, but with a pitch of, I'm sorry. She's like, we're gonna have to let you go. And I said, okay, that's fine. And I think she was surprised. I was surprised too, but I was actually didn't really care. I was really happy, but I kind of felt guilty for feeling happy about it because I know obviously everyone needs a job. That week I decided to just focus on looking for a new job and finishing real estate. There was an opening to reschedule my test and I passed it and I was super happy. So why am I here? I asked myself and I wrote, I'm here for my freedom. My financial freedom, my freedom for stability, and my freedom to keep growing and learning, and my freedom to help my family, and not to do what others tell me to do, but what I want to. So I will leave you guys with these questions that I want you to ask yourselves, and come tell me because I'd be interested to know. And this is why I am in real estate currently. I still don't know why I am here on this earth, but once I define our freedom, eventually I feel like we will find our purpose. So, number 1, how has your circumstances and events in your life affected you? And number 2, what are you in search for and why? And these 2 questions help me figure out why I'm here currently. And number 3, what does freedom mean to you? And once you define your freedom, eventually you'll find your purpose.
Fantastic, thank you, Barbara. You really got us thinking with some of those final questions for our own introspection. Next speech will be given by Lee Schlachter.
Well, I hope my talk is scintillating, but Ross is the judge. My name is Lee Schlachter. I have been with Everest for 4 years. I witnessed the tremendous growth our company has had. And I want to take advantage of the positive and stimulating environment we have. So Toastmasters is my starting point. Okay. I was born in China, and the first 12 years of my life was in a very small town at the south side of the Yellow River. You may not know Yellow River is the cradle of Chinese culture that has 5,000 years history. So if you're interested about Yellow River, ask me or ask Google. My dad was my hero when I grew up and throughout my life. He was kind, caring, generous. He's big-hearted, intelligent. He's always helping. He had tremendous personal influence, and he's a powerful leader. There were 2 high school graduates from his county that were sent to attend top university in China without having to take the college exam, and he was one of the two. And upon graduate, he taught in the university. He studied, and later on he worked at Beijing municipal government and became one of the top executives for many of the government-owned companies. Because there were so few people who were so successful, and he became very famous in his hometown. Anyone there who needs help will ask him for help. His 90-year-old elementary teacher traveled to Beijing asking for help with his granddaughter's job. And he didn't have no money, so my dad had him stay with us in our 3-bedroom apartment and helped him whatever he wanted to ask for. There was a family in his hometown sent him a letter, asking to buy medicine for him, for one of the family members. Well, the postal mail was so slow at the time. By the time the letter arrived, the person who needed the medicine died. So my dad felt so bad. As a government worker, he never had lots of money. Yet, when he visited his hometown, he packed lots of cash with him. He gave those cash to older people in the village. And through government organized charity program, he regularly mailed money to a family in a remote area until that the one single child in the family finished college. He had many, many friends, and he made friends wherever he went. Lots of them were lifetime friends. He often told my 2 brothers and me how grateful he was to the people who helped him and his family when they needed it. He taught us to be broad-minded, big-hearted, never compare our strength to others' weaknesses. My mom only had the opportunity to finish elementary school, but she's very intelligent and determined. She worked in a small bookstore when I was at elementary age. My mom let me read all the books I wanted, as long as I returned them in new condition. That was the start of my love of reading. Except for short period of times in China, in the history, China was an enclosed nation. There was very little cultural exchange and the trade with foreign world. Thanks to the great leader Deng Xiaoping. Again, if you want to know more about him, ask me or ask Go. China started opening the Western world in the 1980s. By the time I graduated from college, I wanted to travel outside China to learn new things, to gain new experiences. So I applied for BYU as a graduate student, and I was admitted. So at 9 o'clock, June 3rd of 1991, I took a flight in Beijing airport, and 9:15 the same date, I landed at Salt Lake Airport. Yes, it's very fast. So 2 years later, I did have a graduate degree from BYU and started working. Fast forward in 2015, I joined Everest. Like I said, I want to grow with Everest and focus on personal and professional growth. Sky's the limit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee. That's wonderful learning about other countries and cultures and how you ended up here in America. Our topics master today is Danette Graham.
You should make your entrance. This is all part of the.
This is part of the. Oh. Very exciting.
Annette Graham.
Sorry. Well, it's spring, so I thought.
Oh, that's pretty.
So I thought we could pick a topic, right, from the flowers, and then you can keep the flower, the hyacinth that will bloom. So remember, table topics are 1 to 2 minutes, and I'm being judged right now, huh? I'm doing this.
Yes, you
Okay. So I'm going to try to choose people who aren't here very much, but since I'm not here very much, I don't know who that would be. So raise your hand if you haven't had a lot of opportunities to speak.
Volunteers.
Mike. Okay, Mike, will you come? I like that a lot, because if you watch the Academy Awards, they really do stay at the podium until the next person gets.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Tell us. Oh. Thank you. Thank you. Should I read it? No?
Sure.
Yes. Okay. Tell us about a mentor or role model you look up to. Let's see. Since I got 2 solid ones in here, I'll go ahead and call them out. Chris and Rick. These 2 guys are super awesome. As soon as I got my license, they pretty much gave me a feeling that I could walk through fire, and they would do it with me. So, yeah, long story short, I love these guys. I love this company. Also, George. George is the man, as you all know. I look at him as my spirit animal, if you will. So, definitely every morning looking forward to hearing George on the morning messages. Also, Rick and Chris, thank you again.
Yeah.
Oh, am I supposed to say it?
Okay, now let's hear from, can we hear from a woman next? Who's a woman who hasn't spoken a lot? Barbara, would you come and speak?
Yeah, Barbara.
Thank you very much. Choose one. I'll man the podium. No, that's the one
Oh, what do
he
I
did.
choose?
You choose, see, they're tucked into
Oh,
the,
in the flowers.
flowers.
I love flowers.
Flowers.
Oh, take us on a travelogue of your favorite vacation.
Oh.
So many. I can tell you about when I lived in Florida. When my husband wasn't making a whole lot of money when we just had been married a few years. And I had 5 children. So what can I do with 5 children in Florida? Well, I was able to go to Disneyland and buy 4 months of visiting Disney for $58 a piece. Now I had to learn to raise that money. What did that come to? $200, $250. My kids could go anytime they wanted. Took them to Disney so many times that we'd say, okay, kids, get in the car, we're going to Disney. Oh, can you imagine? So just before, this is another favorite though. Just before I left Florida, I said, I want to go on a cruise. Derek, please take me on a cruise. Well, we were in Orlando and cruises left out of Cape Canaveral. $145 for 3 days. Can you believe that? So we had such a good time. I told my husband, before we leave, let's surprise the kids and take them on a cruise. They came home from school on a Friday or a Thursday, said, kids, get your clothes ready. We're going someplace for a few days. 45 minutes later, there we were in Cape Canaveral, went on a 3-day cruise. At the time of our life, cost us $1,000.
John.
John!
Wow. What was the most difficult lesson you've learned? I was going to tell you why I wanted the flower. Which is actually linked together. My wife spoils me rotten, and I wanted to spoil her. And so I wanted the flower for her. And the hardest lesson I learned is linked to how we think. A lot of times we may tell ourselves a story that we do or do not deserve something. Good or bad, whatever it is. For the longest time, I believed I didn't deserve to be married. And when I learned that I get control of my story, that's when I was able to attract my wife to me. And I love her to death because she knows all my bad stuff and still loves me. And so I wanted this flower to spoil her. Thank you.
We have time for two more, but I only have one more flower. It's so rude. Okay,
One more
so
happens
So
to
make
be top
another
two.
girl and then a guy.
I will make another girl, and you know, I've just been debating between Sue and Timbra because I owe Timbra because she called on me. But
You should get Timbra.
Timbra.
Because I was Toastmaster last time.
Oh,
and I
thank
spoke
you.
the week
Timbra.
before, so
Timbra.
That was so long before we said No.
Share with us a favorite memory that involves nature. So I don't know how many people know that I used to live in Fiji. I did not go on an LDS mission, but I went on something similar through my church, and I lived in Fiji for about a year and a half, and then my husband and I moved back there in 2006, and our oldest daughter was born in Fiji. And in between, we went on 2 trips to visit, to make decisions about where we would live, and to see people there. One of those trips was to visit and work with a youth camp for a couple of weeks. We took a few people from our youth group. But we got a day off, and we got to take a river trek up the river, which I never did when I lived there, because just like when you live anywhere, you kind of just get into your everyday life and you don't do a lot of the touristy fun things. At the end of the river trek was a huge waterfall, and we all got to get out in the river and climb up the waterfall and just spend a day enjoying the warm water, the beauty of it, the rainbows that come off of the waterfall. And that's probably a favorite nature memory for me because I love Fiji so much, and I love the location, the place, and all the beauty it offers. But it was one day that I got to just enjoy something that was out of the ordinary, touristy, and not necessarily a day-to-day living kind of thing. So.
very last speaker, who hasn't, okay, Chris Ferguson, get up here. Love it. So Chris, I would like you to share with us, I was actually gonna type this one up. Give us the elevator pitch for your life. Who you are and what you're all about in just a couple of minutes.
Oh my God.
Okay. Okay. For myself, if I were to sum up elevator pitch of my life, my experiences have built me into who I am. I recently spoke about failure in Morning Ascent and how we define failure. I am so grateful for the failures, quote unquote, that I have experienced in my life and the experiences that I see as gifts. I've spoken before about when we look at experiences and failures, experiences in general, in the right way, we can find a sense of gratitude when we give meaning to those experiences. For me, life has not been easy, as I'm sure it hasn't been for many, if not all of you. I'm sure I haven't experienced many hardships that you have, and you have not experienced some of the hardships I have. However, they've built me into the person I am today to be able to serve people in the way I serve them. And for that, I am extremely grateful.
Ginger.
I enjoyed those very much. I enjoyed looking at those beautiful flowers and bowls too. So, a memento to remember this day when you gave an impromptu speech at our scintillating Toastmasters Club meeting. I would now like to introduce Curtis Perry. He is our general evaluator and will be introducing the speaker, the evaluators for the speakers, as well as the other roles in our meeting. Curtis.
Go, Kurt!
Sounds like you gave me quite a bit to do here. So I believe my first role here is to introduce Terry for the evaluation on Barbara.
Excellent.
It was such a pleasure to be able to evaluate Barbara. I've watched Barbara grow as she came as a guest for a few weeks in a row, and every time she was asked to do a topic master speech, impromptu speech, and she took that challenge and then came back the next week. So really proud of you, Barbara. Your beautiful smile, that's what started out the speech, and it really drew me in to listening and really paying attention. The great questions that you asked at the very beginning. You started out with great questions, and then at the end you had scintillating questions that made all of us, I believe, really reflect on our lives and our why in our lives. You were very thoughtful, and as you were sharing your speech, you became very vulnerable because of how personal the topic was for you. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing a process of figuring out your why. I think all of us can learn from the process that she had to ask herself lots of questions and figuring it out for herself and really discovering and exploring. Good job in bringing humor into your speech. I think it really helped you to relax and really would draw the audience in as well. So really appreciated that. One thing that you can work on, and again, it was your icebreaker, so we are all very understanding, working on your confidence and feeling like you can really give eye contact to the audience. So confidence, eye contact, part of that will be memorizing and internalizing your speech. That will really help you as you share it. Thank you again for your beautiful why and helping us to understand a little bit more about you.
Thank you, Terry. Next, we have Mr. Russ Orchard evaluating Lee Slaker.
Yeah, Russ.
All right, so Lee, Fei Cheng Sheng Liang, for those of you that don't speak Chinese like me, what I just said is very scintillating in Chinese. So I better win the grammarian because not only am I using it in English, I'm using it in Chinese. Just FYI.
You asked me to tell me yes.
Was that correct?
I don't know, how close was it?
Oh, close.
See? I have a 10-year-old that speaks Chinese though, so I have it a little bit. Okay, so, but to her evaluation, great job, Lee. It was awesome how you shared the story about your dad and about the Chinese history and those things. That was phenomenal. And also, great job on adding the humor of saying, you know, talk to you or go and ask Google, those type of things. That was awesome. The one thing that I would say just to work on would be just and obviously with it being the icebreaker, you're a little bit nervous first, and so notice that you were having to read quite a bit to get started. So I would just say the one thing would be just being a little more animated in your talk as far as work in the audience, those type of things, but I appreciate what you did. And then just to wrap up, as Keith's holding up the green thing, I love what this has done because last week was the summit in California, and during George's speech, I looked back and Danette was going like this with a red piece of paper to tell George, quit talking. So, thank you.
Thank you, Russ. And so now we go into all of the other evaluations. First off, we have Rob Wright with a grammarian report.
Ginger, you used the word of the day more than anybody, I think.
But did she use it in Chinese?
No. Lee, you used it once. The impromptu speakers, they did not use it at all. Nobody used it there. Curtis, you haven't used it yet. Terry, you haven't used it. Oh, you used, did you use it? Okay, my bad. I was paying attention. Russ, you used it once in English and once in Chinese. Mandarin or Cantonese? I just
Mandarin.
Mandarin. All right, good job, and that's the grammarian report.
Thank you, Rob, for that scintillating report. The odd counter, Clint Robertson, pretty please.
I'm sure this is the scintillating part of the meeting when you get to see the mistakes that you made. Chris, for as much time as you're up here, you do a great job. You had 2 so's, 2 buts, and an ah, and they were all at the very beginning. So great job there. Ginger, same thing, had 2 so's right at the very beginning, and the rest of the time you've been really, really good. Rob, you had 1 ah, and 1 so. Jeanette had 1 ah and 1 so. Curtis has only had 1 ah, and that was to start out, so I kind of gave him a break on that because it was almost like just waiting for you guys to listen to him, I think. Russ had 2 so's. Barbara, yours were the and then an especially when you got nervous. So I'm not gonna say there was a few of them, but that was just when you got nervous. You relied on the and a lot. Lee didn't have any. Mike, you had a couple of ahs and a couple of so's. Barbara 1 ah, 1 so. And John, Timber, and Terry, nothing.
Wow. For our timer report, we have Keith Hall. Pretty cool.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm required to use the word scintillating, seems how you already gave that report, but here are the timing. Barbara, Virgin, 6 minutes, 28 seconds. Lee, you had 5 minutes, 33 seconds. Mike, missed it by 2 seconds at 58 seconds. Barbara, 1 minute and 34 seconds. John, you were 1 minute and 22 seconds. Timbra, 1 minute and 12 seconds. Chris, 1 minute and 6 seconds. Terry, 2 minutes and 29 seconds. And Russ, 1 minute and 32 seconds. That's it. Wow.
All right, everybody. So for the report on today, we did start a little bit late, Chris, but I think that had to do with Justin Newty probably. And Chris did get a demerit for going over on his time. Little long-winded elevator speech, but the evaluations on the speakers I thought were great. Terry, I wrote down here that I thought that your evaluation was spot on. That's exactly how it's done. it's hard enough to be up here, and it's nerve-wracking enough to be up here. And you're supposed to gentle, white gloves approach, give people the confidence to want to come back up here and do it again. I thought that was great. Russ, ditto. I think being an evaluator up here, I think it's our job to help build people back up so that they have the ability to grow rather than knock it down. And Barbara, I thought that was amazing. Excuse me, Barb. I thought your speech was amazing, and I know how difficult it is, and I think you gave us a lot to talk about as well. The next thing I have here is the evaluator on. Is that all I have to do? Turn it back over to you.
Awards. Go through the meeting, like how did the meeting go?
I thought the meeting went well. I mean, it started out a little bit rough with having to be a little bit behind with Yudi, but I thought the topic master who just left again. There's another demerit. The table topics I thought were great, and the prompts certainly are appreciated. People that are willing to go out of their way to get one. I love doing that too, getting my wife something for free and pretending like I care.
Right.
The table topic speeches I thought were great, and you can see a vast improvement on the confidence level, thinking on their toes, and figuring out what direction they want to go in. And I think that's probably what the table topics are supposed to do. And I don't know, anything else? I'm not really reading this. That's okay. And so I will turn the control back over to Ginger.
And we do have a couple more minutes, and I've had some more time to think about it. Somebody did mention this as a noun. Yes, that's used as a noun. That's used as an adjective. That's the verb form. That is an adverb. There you go, sentence structure.
Is it like a paragraph?
I know, it's my thing. The most exciting part today is to find out who are our winners from last week. As best evaluator, Dustin Erickson. He's the one that told me it was a noun, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew it. He's the one that corrected me and said, that's used as a noun there. Congratulations to you.
I'm gonna let you choose. Let's take a picture. Yay, Dustin!
Our winner for best table topics last week is Fred Law.
So we have it for him and we'll put it on his desk.
Wonderful. And our best speaker from last week. Joanna Williams.
Oh, she's downstairs.
Okay, because I thought I saw her earlier. Okay, so when you see these people this week, ask them, how did you do it?
I let them know you ate their chocolate.
Who wants to split their candy bar?
I have enjoyed being your Toastmaster today on this beautiful spring day at the end of April. May you all drive safely. I will turn that over to our chair, Mr. Chris Ferguson.
I know I'll have a scintillating drive. Thank you all for being here today. We are going to wrap up a little bit earlier. A couple last announcements. I took into account what we had mentioned earlier, and we will be putting together a fun event to go over pathways. We'll have food, and I know when you have food, realtors show up. Maybe food, music, we'll make a little pathways party. I also want to recognize Lynette, who's visiting us today. Welcome, Lynette. Thank you very much. She's and just a reminder before leaving, remember we're improving not only our public speaking, but each of these roles, whether Toastmaster, Evaluator, General Evaluator, there is information we've posted on the shared Google folder, which we have sent out or sent invites to. If you have not received the meeting invite that I sent yesterday on repeat every Wednesday, it has in that body of the message the link to our shared Google folder. If you have not yet seen it, or if you don't have access, talk to myself or John, our VP of Education. But thank you all very much for being here today. It was great seeing you. It was great hearing from you. Thanks again. Have a great day.
I always